they not stopping beyond the BECE?
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at the injection and the progression rate. What's the plan for them?
Yeah,
I know
so
that they are now going to select their schools, right?
yeah, so I mean, if you look at the exam set, it's not an event. It's part of the entire process to get them into our senior high schools.
Right.
And I mean, after they finish writing the exams, you may be looking at the process of school selection. This time around, there is an interesting intervention or innovation.
What's that?
We have the cluster system. So what it means is that within the selection process, for instance, if you select a category A school, we still give you an option where you have some cluster of schools which are also category A.
Okay.
Where you may indicate that if you do not get, let's say, St. Augustine,
Okay.
there will be some other number of schools within the
Okay.
same category
Okay.
that
That equally good schools.
schools.
Okay.
You come to category 2, you may have the same option, category C2. I mean, the whole idea is to widen the net, widen the space where you have students placed. So largely, after the BECE, the selection process proceeds. After the selection process, then the placement process, like we always discuss, comes up. But of course, I mean, this time around, beyond the cluster system, we are also looking at expanding the TVET space. I mean, last year we had close to 50,000 students going into TVET. And for me, that was novel. And beyond it, novel, it speaks volumes that gradually, as a country, we are beginning to appreciate the technical vocational education where skills is imparted within the students. I mean, these are students who ordinarily will finish school and will not come to the government to also queue for jobs. I mean, we are unable to hide that in terms of unemployment rate within the world community, within the Ghanaian community, it is something that has been a bottleneck within our system as a country, and we really have to use our educational system to transform.
There's going to be a video that will be shown to the students.
Yeah.
What kind of video is that? You're going to show them a movie?
I mean, like I indicated earlier, if you look at the BECE, it is not only an event, it's just part of the larger process. And the larger process also includes the selection process and the placement process. If you look at last year, for instance, students had the opportunity to select about 6 schools. Beyond that, they were placed in schools, I mean, based on the models of self-placement, automatic placement, and what have you, and the manual placement. This time around, what we want to do is to show them a video detailing how the selection process is done. I mean, that is even beyond the ministry and the Ghana Education, the TVET itself, going to the schools and also creating some level of sensitization. So at least after the sensitization, you may have the option as a parent, as a guardian, as a candidate, or as a student to also watch the video where you see the new introductions. We are looking at the STEM schools this time around. I think this time the resolution is that we are beginning 5 of the STEM schools where we are placing students. We have Awaso, Pesempe, Abomasu. I think last year we began with the one in Minister's constituency, Bosontre Girls. So
they're doing entirely, 5 schools will do entirely science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
Yeah,
once they go there, you're creating the next generation of leaders.
Yeah, those are STEM career pathways where artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D imaging, Internet of Things, and what have you will be doing. So
I see.
So this time around too, we will also include those schools within the ordinary, I mean, the already established schools that are existing.
Okay.
So that students
they can choose.
Yeah,
they can choose. Okay.
And we also have about 212 TVET schools that will also be within the list of categories of schools that will also be
a growing concern by parents and, if you like, watchers within the education space is the fact that, look, we're set to write the exam, people have studied, and then the papers leak. And people are worried. How safe is this year's examination, free from leakages?
Yeah, I believe, I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to get efficient and robust system so that we will have some level of integrity with the kind of exams that we administer to our candidates or our students. And so it's a very good point that you brought up. But of course, within the royal context, you get to realize that a lot of the issues that come up may not necessarily be leakage, but it's about more practice. Let me give you an instance. If I enter the exam hall, some way, somehow, I'm able to smuggle a phone through, and I take a picture of my questions, probably sent to somebody outside to do for me, and it gets leaked on the internet. I mean, within the proper context, at that particular moment, you are even in the exam hall.
Right.
So it's not every student that even have access to what
phone.
is phone, and even what is
On the
showing on
internet.
social media. So yes, I mean, for us sitting at the back, we may construe that as a leakage. Oh, we saw the question, indeed, that was what came. But in real sense, the students really cannot do anything. It's just a question that has gotten out there, which is a more practice. But of course, with regards to the leakage, I have always insisted that every system where you have a human interface in it, you may be having some of these issues coming up almost every year. But last year, WAEC did something very novel. Of course, with the intervention of the minister, their last year's BECE exams was serialized. And when you talk about serialization, what it means is that you may be having different set of questions administered to the students within the same particular time.
Okay.
At the end of the day, what it does is that it reduces the motivation or the incentive for you to even go and look for.
Because Kwesi's paper is different from
It's
mine.
different from
but
yours.
we're writing the same subject.
Same subjects.
Okay.
We may be writing English, but different. So within one particular room or one particular, for instance, exam, so you may be having different questions within the same syllabus on the same subject administered to the students. I think last year the serialization was relative to regions. So if you are an Asante region, you don't even know which questions that you had, whether it's going to be administered to those within the Greater Accra.
Okay.
If you are in Greater Accra, you don't know what the northern people are going to do. So if you get a set of questions, what it means is that if you want to indeed follow the activities of rogues and probably procure questions as candidates have been deceived already, you may be looking at getting 16
You
sets
could
of
get questions from Accra when you are sitting in Damongo.
Exactly.
And then Usikanashi.
What you can say? So last year that was what was done, and well, I mean it was a trial phase. WAEC is going to repeat the same thing also this year. So we believe that gradually these are some of the things that is going to.
How psyched up are our children and little brothers and sisters in going to take this exam? Do they have the right frame of mind?
Yeah, I mean largely. If you look at this is not the first time they are writing the exams, except to say that this is the first time they are writing exams of this nature, where you write and you probably may not even have an opportunity to correct your mistakes. I'm sure if you really want to broaden the content, that is why Minister for Education, Dr. Oseduchum, has brought in the National Standardized Test.
Right.
Because if you look at these students, within 11 years of being in school, the only time you can put an intervention probably will be late. Right. But by then they will be exiting the school. So you look at the National Standardized Test. If you put, for instance, class 4, by the time they get to class 5, there will be an intervention. Class 5, by the time they get to class 6, there will be an intervention. And that follows. So, I mean, largely, in terms of exams, as students writing an exam, yes, almost every time they write an exams, you have the Ghana Education Service also, I mean, getting their counselors around, speaking to students, taking them. I mean, for instance, my constituency, personally, as
You've gone to.
I went there.
I saw you sharing math sets.
Yes, and I spoke to them, encouraged them. I said the difference between the BECE and the mock that they are writing is that with regards to the BECE, they've written on top BECE, and the mock is MOCK. Essentially telling them that this is something that they have been doing almost every time.
Right.
When you are in class 1, you write 3 exams. Class 2, you write series of exams up to the final year where you will be completing school.
The question of mock exams, I see some members of parliament, DCs organizing theirs in pockets.
Individual.
Exactly. What's the rule? Is there a rule to synchronize everything? So beyond the standardization test?
I'm sure. With regards to that question, I may have to get further briefing from the Ghana Education Service. But largely, the MPs have common funds.
That's right.
And mostly they determine, it's very subjective, of course, within a certain framework anyway, how they dispense such monies. A lot of them are into the development of education. So, of course, you may, beyond reading the political motives, the political advantage that serves them, I mean, these are also people that may also want to contribute their quota to their various municipalities, their various constituencies within that proper perspective. So it is not something that on a face value anybody will discourage. If you want to conduct an exams for students, I mean, with your own money, whether you are an MP, whether you are an individual, so far as you follow the proper channels by going to the municipal or district education office, getting their briefing, their orientation, and their agreement. Personally, on the face value, I don't think anything wrong. Of course, when it's abuse, I mean, when it's abuse and it becomes overly promotional, that is when I feel that our schools should not be used as a bait for promoting people's political agenda and hidden motives.
The question of textbooks has come up strongly.
You're bringing it again.
Yeah, people, I've been passionate about it. People are worried that, look, what are we testing the children about if they have not had access to the full complements of their textbooks? I'm sure that it's a worry for the minister as well and the Ghana Education Service. What do you say?
Yeah, Johnny, the good news is that as I speak to you, textbooks have been dispatched to the various schools. Distribution is ongoing. I spoke to a municipality like Ayawaso, for instance, where they received their books and actually distribution have gone to the various schools. Of course, there are other distribution challenges and lapses that not every school within Ghana have gotten it. But about a month ago, USAID, for instance, I think it was in the media, they supported the ministry with almost 4 million packs of textbooks. The ministry, through our interventions and liaising with the local publishers, apparently we gave them a contract up to September to finish the printing of the textbooks. Each of them has finished, distribution has started up to the regional and the district level. So, I mean, the expectation is that the schools have them. Of course, I mean, that is also not to suggest that every school necessarily should have them. I mean, so if indeed any school have not gotten them, then it means that what we have to do is to check from GES, then provoke the batman.
But it's been long, Kwesi.
Yeah, I admit.
It's been long since the curriculum was changed.
Yes. I mean, that is something that the ministry have made several admissions on, that indeed, I mean, if you look at where the curriculum was introduced and when the textbooks was printed, there was some delays. And occasioned largely because initially the plan was that our local publishers publishes the books.
Right.
I mean, those were the time that we also hit with COVID and organizing their resources to be able to do that quite delayed. So that almost took about a year. Beyond that, at some point, some books came out. You heard it, where there were some tribal sentiments that were provoked.
That's right.
And the Minister for Education have to halt it.
Yes. For the players and they won the match.
Yes, and the Minister for Education, Dr. Yadutum, has to intervene and halt the process so that we get a lot of quality assurance teams to review, further reviews. I mean, some delays at the public procurement side, of course. But at the end of the day, as a ministry or as a leader, you take responsibility for liabilities and you also take responsibility for assets. So indeed, we take responsibility for every delay. But even beyond that, we had procured and produced what we call the Teachers and the Learners Pack, which holds every content also that has been replicated in the textbook. So, I mean, beyond the textbook, that was what the teachers were using and the students were using to also more or less mitigate the situation.
What happens to, I know that the vision is for every student to pass the BECE. What happens to those who are not able to pass? Do we leave them behind? Is there a plan for them?
Yeah, if you look at last year, for instance, the caveat was that if you fail or if you fail to obtain both English and mathematics passes, we give you an opportunity to write the BECE again.
Or you can write it again.
Yeah, you can write
like
it
as a remedial,
yes.
you know.
I mean, even in the school, you stay and write it.
Oh, okay.
Beyond the private one.
That's been done?
Yeah, that's been done.
Oh, wow.
And but of course, if you do students who are not even able to get only English, if you probably do not pass in English, but you pass in mathematics, we give you an opportunity to justify yourself in any of the secondary schools. If you pass mathematics, probably also fails to obtain English, we also give you an opportunity. Last year, the caveat was that where you fail to obtain passes in English and mathematics, that is where we give you an opportunity to rewrite the BECE, so that the government.
So there's always an opportunity. If you sit and perchance you're not able to pass, there's a provision for you. You can either retake or you're given an opportunity to try your luck. You know.
But I mean, if you look at last year, for instance, a number of students, we are looking at an excess of almost 95% that passed. So only few students were not able to get both English and mathematics.
For the avoidance of doubt, let's go around the STEM schools again. Where are they located, particularly the 5 that you say will be on stream for the selection process that will go on? If you share that.
Yeah, I have the list here. Let me confirm for you. So you have Bosomtwe Girls STEM School.
Bosomtwe Girls STEM School.
Abomoso STEM School.
Abomoso,
which is also located at Abomoso.
Okay.
And Abomoso is in the eastern region.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Kwase, Pesempe. Pesempe is in the north,
Yeah,
and
right.
Awaso.
Awaso.
Awaso STEM
Okay.
school.
But why? So these are standalone schools.
Yeah.
One would have thought that they would have been inculcated into already existing schools.
I mean, the two were done together. There were also some other expansions that were done in other schools. If we go to Presec, for instance, expansions were done in terms of provision of modern and standard laboratories.
Right.
And same thing were done to other schools. But of course, I mean, in terms of fully fledged, established senior high schools, I mean, these were also other interventions that were brought in, especially where, if you look at the minister's vision and juxtaposing it within the 21st century, where education largely is pivoted on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It was also prudent that we also build new or established STEM schools so that, of course, students within having the interest and having the orientation to do science, technology.
Dr. Clementa Park is a deputy ranking member on the Education Committee in Parliament. Says the textbooks are not in the classrooms. He should mention any school in the Upper East region where textbooks have been distributed to students. It's unacceptable that after all the promises, the books are not in the hands of the students. That's what he says. Do you want to respond to him quickly?
Yeah, I want to respond to him. Like I indicated earlier, I mean, if you look at the contract that we had with our publishers, it ended on September. I can confirm, because I personally, together with Minister for Education, Dr. Elsa Duchum, and Reverend Tim Fojo, went to some printing houses. I remember there was a time we went to Back Press, for instance. Work was about 70% complete. I mean, beyond, even within that time we visited, they have about 3 months to even end the contract. I can speak and confirm that every book have left the printing houses. I mean, you were here.
So they're in transit
No.
now, or some have been distributed?
They left the printing houses, went to the regional GES office, some to the district office. I'm not going to dispute what he's saying. It is possible that in terms of the transportational, how do you call it, arrangements, there could be delays, there could be challenges, and there could be obstructions. I don't dispute that.
Okay.
But I gave an instance like, if you go to Ayawaso West, for instance, every school within that municipality
They have textbooks.
gotten their textbooks.
So it will get to them.
So what I mean, the assurance I can give to my good friend Dr. Park is that I'm going to follow up with this region, and then we facilitate and push it so that their students are able to get their
The
books on
teachers
time.
are sending me messages, but we have to go. Some are asking for 2021 promotions. They have written exams and interviews, and they have to be upgraded. Some are asking about laptops. One teacher, one laptop, but that's a conversation for another time.
I'm sure GES will
I will.
will
You want to
respond
push that to
accordingly.
GES?
No, I mean,
Kwesi
those are the agencies responsible
is
for
the
that.
spokesperson for the Ministry of Education, and he's been here this morning. We had to wake him up very early in the morning to come and talk to us about BECE and matters arising. Kwesi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll see you after the break. There's more here on TV3 New Day.